Man, you have not cheated today. You've let the American public down. If it was up to me, you'd be gone.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. I'm Zach, and we got about 2 weeks now since the Trump assassination attempt, and I have a video here discussing, well, it talks about a lot of things, honestly, but it talks about the issue of a drone, right, in Overwatch, provided by the Secret Service, and it gives some witness accounts and about some other things that happened on the day, right? So, but if you check out my channel, I put together a big edit of Cheatle's hearing, and I've been working on some other stuff since then, but I wanted to finish this video up. We're 2 weeks out, and I kind of decided to hold it a little bit to give us some retrospect, right? Like knowing what we know now. So let's see where it goes.
Cheatle, I'd like to remind you that you're under oath.
On that day in Pennsylvania, it was a rough day. And the reality is that I understand it, and you may or may not.
This quote by Crockett was pretty much from Texas here. It was pretty much like the only thing that the Democrats had to say about that day at all, right, in that hearing, at least for the part that I saw. It was just really strange. You had the conservatives on one side asking questions, trying to get down to the issues at hand.
Was there a protective intelligence team?
There was no Overwatch provided.
What technical resources were utilized?
Did the Secret Service tell President Trump they'd spotted a suspicious individual before he was shot?
I am unclear as to...
And then the Democrats were doing something altogether different.
I know you're a lot younger than me, but you probably did you ever watch The Untouchables?
I have.
Using it to talk about gun laws.
In the space in which this event took place, it was an open carry space. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And we have the facts. Deaths from firearms keep climbing in Texas decades after lawmakers began weakening gun regulations.
Right, comparing this assassination attempt to a mass shooting.
So I hail from the state of Texas, and interestingly enough, I was serving in the state house right after there was a mass shooting in El Paso.
Really insane. Shoot, in the FBI director Ray, in his hearing, there was a guy from the state of Tennessee that used his time to basically talk like local politics with the FBI director.
We're not leaving Memphis. What we are doing is...
Nobody should leave Memphis. In
Right.
fact, most of the songs are about people
Right.
going to Memphis.
We are...
They leave Nashville, they go to Memphis.
Recognize...
They discussed the opening and closures of offices in the main metropolitan areas of the state. Totally out of hand for a hearing where you're trying to get down to the bottom of an assassination attempt, you know, and it really tells you a lot about what's going on. Yeah.
But our job is to solve problems for the American people. And to be perfectly honest, the numbers are clear. I had, I think, almost every major law enforcement agency come forward and say that they were against permitless carry because they said that their jobs would be made more difficult.
Can you believe
Unfortunately,
this?
my colleagues on the other side of the aisle in the state
grandstanding
of
like
Texas
this.
decided that they would ignore those warnings, and they passed the law instead.
This makes
and
me
right after
throw
they
up
passed that
in my
law,
mouth.
we ended up with Uvalde.
I'm not somebody that buys into a left-right paradigm, nor do I want to support it ever, right? I think we need to get out of the left-right paradigm. We need to pretty much, by and large, replace our entire government, in my opinion.
You excuse the roof being unmanned because of the slope. Do you stand by that assertion?
The roof was not covered with an individual on it because there was Overwatch provided.
Apparently not. No, there was no Overwatch provided.
I think that the Secret Service put together a plan where they were counting that roof in as part of their Overwatch, and that was the plan that they had put in place that day.
And that was the plan that they had put in place that day.
And that was the plan that they had put in place that day.
And that was the plan that they had put in place that day. And that was the plan that they had put in place that day.
You weren't going to put a security personnel on the roof. Why not at least use drone technology or aerial surveillance to monitor the rally?
There are a number of times that we do use drone technology. I'm not speaking specifically to this event and what was utilized or not. There are times drone technology is available and helpful at events, and there are times when it is not appropriate.
Okay. Now, what does that tell you? Right? If you hearing her say that, it sure sounds like there was no drone technology used at the event. To me, I took that as that's what she implied with what she was saying right there. It sure sounded like it, sure seemed like it. She did say, to let her off the hook in some sense, that she's not speaking specifically to the event that day, but why wouldn't you take that opportunity to discuss it? The question is, why wasn't there a drone used that day? And you say, sometimes we use them, sometimes we don't. Okay, so I'm taking that as you didn't, right?
Was there a protective intelligence team, and what technical resources were utilized for that event, specifically drone or helicopter assets?
There were a number of technical assets that were deployed for that event, and there was a protective intelligence team that was assigned to that event.
In my opinion, according to some of the testimony today, I feel that you have perjured yourself in some instances.
Right there, it seemed like she implied that they used the drone. Okay, right? And of course, I put that clip in there from, I didn't get that representative's name, who said that Cheatle had perjured herself, which I agree with, right? Those were two different answers, okay? Now, regardless of that, she was asked in both instances direct questions as to whether a drone was being used or not that day. And she failed to directly answer either one. So here we are, left to draw implications, or left to draw assumptions rather. And, you know, what I'm going to say is it sure seemed like she perjured herself. On one hand, she said yes. On the other hand, she said no.
To my knowledge, she did not fly the drone over the entire area.
How did he fly a drone over the area, period? Any part of the area?
And I would have to go back and check the timeline of when that took place and when the event.
Why didn't you bring the timeline with you?
Your operational lapses, your resource management, and poor judgment nearly resulted in the assassination of President Trump. I mean, the dereliction of duty here is just appalling. In fact, if you haven't visited Butler, it is just maddening to me. You're not taking this job seriously.
All right, I'm going to stop there quick. And she isn't taking the job seriously. No doubt about it, right? That last bit about the drone, they were discussing a drone that all of a sudden Crooks was flying around that day, right? We didn't hear about that the whole first week. Then comes the hearing, and all of a sudden she doesn't know anything about anything, but now she knows that he has a drone that he was flying around. So Taylor Green was saying, well, what part of the venue did he fly the drone around and when, right? So, of course, you saw her answer. So during Director Ray's hearing, he had all sorts of information about this drone flight, and he knew everything about this drone flight, and it was like, so he acted like he had his stuff together. But then when asked the hard questions about the simple issues that the internet is answering, right? Talking about the brass collected. Why does one body cam have a guy counting 5 on the roof, and another body cam footage later, right? A few minutes later, I'm sure we've seen this, counts 8 shells on the roof, and where are the shells, right? What's up with the audio analysis of the shots that were fired? So he can't answer any of these serious questions that we're all there to answer. That's what we're all here for, right? But he knows about this drone, right? So I think that Cheatle talking about we know he was flying a drone is totally just a red herring, right? This is a distraction, right? Same with the explosives, same with a lot of these other motive, same with the concept of motive, distractions. Like, fine, that's cool. Address those things, but address those things after we have the main real questions answered, right? So we're going to continue on with this representative, and he talks about a trip that he made to Butler, okay, to the site.
I've done several presidential events prior in my career, and I wanted to see this site with my own 2 eyes because I don't believe the video footage tells the whole story or looking at things on a diagram. And I was absolutely appalled when I went to the site, when I saw the fact that I could have stood on the roof of that building, the AGR building, and hit that podium with a 9-iron, and I'm a lousy golfer. And the fact that that was not included in the perimeter is a complete dereliction of the duty of the U.S. Secret Service.
I've told my daughter multiple times, my wife and my daughter, we talk to her all the time about how she's going to succeed in life. She'll succeed in life by achieving. Ma'am, you have not achieved today. You've let the American public down. If it was up to me, you'd be gone. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You know, this isn't about male-female thing, right? This isn't about a racist thing, right? Just like it never is with most people in our country when it comes to deciding these issues or when things come up and the people that are involved, right? It has to do with competency. It has to do with, and the DEI or whatever process about hiring people, this has to do with filling spots that just because of a person's, color, gender, that's the only reason that they're getting this job over another person. Like, that's not right. That's like reverse, whatever it is, ism, right? So like the whole thing is like Bob Marley said, we're fighting the isms and isms and isms. Still doing it, right? And we can't let any of the isms divide us. And his statement there, really encapsulates what I think most of society was saying after this thing. Was like, it wasn't a gender thing. It wasn't about an anti-female thing. This was about a competency issue, right? But the fact that it happened to be a female hire that's incompetent running the thing, and then you have these female agents that can't even hold their weapon and reholster it properly. Well, like, now we got to talk about, why are women being put in this position? Sorry, that's the issue. That's the discussion we got to have now, right? So, and on top of that, I captured all this footage and I put it together before Cheatle had resigned, right? So, being that we're this far out now, like, I'm glad she resigned so quick, but we need to be careful not to let this whole thing just like vanish, okay? We need to not let them use her to absorb this energy of ours, right? We need to stay focused. We need to hold this energy, and we need to make sure that we see this all the way through, right? That's the deal with America, right? We have laws and rights, but none of it matters until you go to court and you see it through and you hold the other party, the transgressing party, accountable. Period. Till then, it's Wild Wild West, man. You can do whatever you want, right? They know that they can get away with stuff, right? We need to start filing cases. We need to start pushing them in that way. And with this issue and solving this in this investigation and having a legitimate investigation, not one run by Mayorkas, the Jews, Mayorkas, right? We need to make sure it gets done the proper way.
So you believe he's acting alone?
I do.
Okay.
So you believe he's acting alone?
I do.
Okay.
So you believe he's acting alone? I do. Okay.
And we got to look at this evidence for what it is.
Forensic analysis suggests that as many as 3 weapons were fired at the Trump rally in Butler, Pennsylvania on Saturday. The FBI said Sunday that the shooter acted alone. The first 3 shots were consistent with alleged weapon A. The next 5 were consistent with alleged weapon B. And the final acoustic impulse was emitted by a possible weapon C, per audio analysis by Cheatle Grigoras, director of the National Center for Media Forensics at the University of Colorado in Denver, and Cole White-Cotton, senior professional research associate at the same institution. Audio analysis has also confirmed that the gunman was about 360 to 393 feet from the podium, according to forensics expert Robert Mayer.
Sharpshooter shot to the left. He killed the gentleman in the water tower here. Now,
Sharpshooter to the left, killed a gentleman in the water tower here. Very clear, very, very clear what this woman just said.
Here is now, they feel that there was 2 shooters on both sides. So they got the one on the tower on this side, but the one on the right side, they never got. So that's why they wanted us to leave immediately, because they thought there's still a shooter out there somewhere. So there could be in these woods around Butler. And I feel sad for our country. I feel sad for everybody,
All right, so she's very clear about this, that there were two shooters. They were told there might be a second shooter.
I know you're a lot younger than me, but you probably did. Did you ever watch The Untouchables?
I have watched it.
They had one of the programs was on Mayor Cermak. You don't know Mayor Cermak?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Mayor Cermak, do you know who he was?
I do not.
He was the mayor of Chicago. And in February of 1933, there was an assassination attempt on Franklin Roosevelt in Miami, Florida. And Mayor Cermak, C-E-R-M-A-K, was killed and said, "I'm glad it was me and not you." Allegedly, he said that. But anyway, that was an attempt that failed, and that was the Untouchables brought it into my consciousness. But thank you for your work. I appreciate it very much.
Timelines, but it was a relatively short period of time.
Let me help you. 5:52. Ms. Cheatle, why was President Trump allowed on stage 10 minutes after the Secret Service spotted a suspicious individual? You got a guy who's going to be the next president of the United States. He's on stage. I've been to these events. We've all been to these events. A car backfires, and there's a 15-minute dadgum wait. That's not acceptable.
I just want to raise up one issue. I'm not even going to address the assassination attempt, any of that. I just want to remember back to September 11th for everyone, right? You remember the footage from the day, okay, where people heard explosions in the basement. Basically, you had all the eyewitness evidence and testimony and videos on the news from the day where everyone heard all the evidence for a controlled demolition. So now that we're 2 weeks out from this Trump assassination attempt, you know, like, look at that again and think about how this story has been attempted to have been changed and altered, right, and crafted since then.
He killed a gentleman in the water tower here. Now,
Sharpshooter to the left, killed a gentleman in the water tower here.
You know, if you take it a step further, because this situation has a big twist to it, right? If Trump wouldn't have turned his head, you could look at it that way. And I think if you look at like a lot of the information that the media's put forward, you can kind of see the stuff that came from this dossier or whatever packet that they had ready for when this worked. And then other than that, they've been scrambling, changing their story, not knowing what to say, and looking foolish.
You know, we're like, hey, right here on the roof, we can see him from right here. We see him. You know, he's crawling. And
we need to remember and hold on to these clips from the first days.
he killed a gentleman in the water tower here.
We need to stay vigilant, man. The war's on. I think everybody out there, like they're tipping their hand. Then with this Olympics thing, they're tipping their hand, man. More and more, every time they do this ridiculous stuff, right, the everyday person is understanding what's happening, or has a chance to understand what's happening, right? And, you know, personally, I think they're trying to push us to, they want to push us to civil unrest and riot so they can clamp down hard, right? And that's been their agenda for a while. But they've been intentionally trying to offend us. So yeah, we need to look at these things for what they are, keep them in proper perspective, and that's all I urge to do with this situation. Yeah, man. I think that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think, and till next time, peace.
Stop it. Get some help. Stop it. Get some help.